Hi everybody, this is Andrea Dombecki and this is Angel Life Makeover. You can reach me at angelfairyhealing.com. I'm excited to be here today with everybody and talking about ancestral healing with the unicorns. This is a really powerful topic that was coming up for me as I was feeling some deep childhood trauma coming up that I had hidden. And as usual, as my healer self, I'm like, okay, I gotta sit and face this and bring positive energy to this and go do some timeline healing. But it all goes back to, what can we accept healing from? Our higher self, Archangel Michael, Jesus, Mary, the angels, the healing angels, Archangel Raphael. Who do you trust? So when I tuned into that and I was going back deep to my childhood home and working on the atmosphere, I also felt my mom come in and my aunt come in. They're both on the other side. Well, I really felt the unicorns come in. And then I was guided to make this podcast on unicorn healing for the ancestry, right? Because we have to be aware of the ancestral pain that we carry. Not all of us come from really happy ancestral lines. There could have been abuse, suffering, tragedy, right? And so we want to look at this. It's really important as we evolve right now, because we want to change that blueprint. We want to go down to the DNA, genetic level, auric level, light body level, because we carry all of the experience, all the energy patterns of our ancestors. And so some of us are burdened with that, myself included. You know, I had a wonderful mother, but my dad was an addict, and he was filled with negative energy and evil almost energy, and I've had to deal with that my whole life, clear that out of my aura, decord from that, pray for him with compassion, and now he's on the other side, and I really pray for his soul. But it's good to look at as an adult, as someone who's done healing work for years and years and years, to look at that. One, I contracted to have that person as my father. I have karma with them. Also, as a healer on the wounded healer journey, I contracted to go through pain and heal pain, to learn how to do that so I can help others and, create healing materials, assist others, because I've been through that energy. So it's really good to understand the bigger picture, so then we don't say, why me? Why didn't I come into the world born into a happy family with loving parents in a safe environment? But I've been having this great message lately that we really need to make the best of our own circumstances, to make peace with where we've been and bloom where we're planted. And that means our family, our circumstances, our bodies, everything, that we need to make peace with who we are, where we've come from, and choose to be the best version of us. Now that means really letting go of pity or any other negative stories that we have about, it's too late for me, I don't come from good places, I don't have the ability, I'm not good enough, whatever comes from that. So today we're working with the unicorns. The unicorns really came through when I was doing my own childhood healing. And I want to talk about what I was doing. I was going back to my childhood home, the place I was kind of brought home to as a baby, and it wasn't really a safe environment. My dad was an addict. My mom was very sweet, very devoted mother, but I think she was in trauma because her husband was an addict. And, he went to rehab and she stayed with him, but there was always problems with him. He wasn't a loving parent and equal partner. Luckily, he wasn't around a lot as I grew up, but we always kind of saw him on Sundays or at night, and he was volatile. And it was always like a thorn in your side. And it was always this feeling like you can't get away from the toxic person, and your mom can't fix this problem. There's all kinds of issues, right? And the reason I talk about this openly, of course, because, we've been kind of told to don't talk about this stuff, is because I want to have an open dialogue with people, that not all of us came from sweet, happy places, and that we have to face this stuff and be open about this stuff and not be ashamed of it, because I was told my whole life to smile, pretend everything's normal, even though you knew it wasn't. And so I have a lot of coping mechanisms to hide that emotional truth. And that created a lot of emotional numbness and stored trauma. And so the unicorns are great for this, because they come in to really help the sensitive They can reach you on a heart level. And so they came through this morning. I was doing some ancestral healing with my aunt and my mom. They came through. I usually work with Mary, Jesus, Archangel Michael, Raphael, whatever other angels I feel comfortable with. And I was doing timeline healing where I go back and forth and I look at places where there's traumatic energy, and I just bring prayers, like difficult times in my life. I just bring prayers, love, support, pray for everyone involved. And so the unicorns really came through and they're like, we can reach you. We can reach you with this and we can bring the light. So they're really blessed, miraculous spirit guides that come through for specific people that are receptive and require that because we trust them. We feel they have this kind of loving, heroic energy, and that really helps our inner child. So I was really thinking of doing a lot of inner child's healing, like praying all week to work on healing the inner child, because I feel like the inner child is a part of ourselves that can detach, right? When we have to be tough and we have to get over things and we have to survive, we can really hide and suppress that inner child, which is traumatized, which isn't nurtured by the world. And we shove their little voice and their sensitivity deep inside and lock it away. And so when I was working with the unicorns and the angels this morning, I was saying, let me meet that inner child and give them comfort in whatever they require. And sometimes it's like a teddy bear or a sweet activity, and you can just energetically meet them and say, you're safe now, you're a grown-up, it's going to be okay. We can make a beautiful, happy environment for you now with self-respect, respectful relationships. And we can look at how this affects our whole life, right? With self-esteem, self-worth, and having this peaceful environment. And that means being around loving people, right? Having loving partners, kind friends, having work where you are respected and treated nicely, having a loving home environment, all these things that maybe you weren't taught enough self-esteem to create. And so the reason I talk about this is because these are things that I've faced throughout my life. And remember, we are always a work in progress. As a healer, I wish I could snap my fingers and say, I'm there. I did it all, but we need to have so much compassion about where we've come from and what our issues are. Because I find as a healer, I go through time cyclically where I go back into the shadow, and the shadow is totally okay. We need to love that part of ourselves. And the shadow is all our pain, all our trauma, all our challenges. Do our inner work, have a good attitude about it, join healing groups, have healing partners. I always have some healer friends that I partner up with, and we do lots of healing together, because this is a time to do that. The world is evolving and we are evolving, and it's time to bring that light. So let's work with the unicorns today, and we're going to meet and embrace our inner child. We're going to look at the timeline of healing in our life, go back to the houses that you lived in, the house that you lived in as a child, your relationship with your parents, the activities that you faced, school, work, going throughout our lives, and bringing in that unicorn ancestral healing, because most likely a lot of these core challenges are based on ancestral issues. When I look at my ancestral timeline, there was a lot of volatile energies between men and women. There was a lot of suffering from the patriarchy, oppression of women, and spiritual gifts. There's lots of different themes. And so the unicorns are bringing light, forgiveness, and healing to all those things. We want to forgive all involved, of course, but we also want to recreate our inner narrative and call back our wholeness, right? We don't want to always be defined by negative karma or pain. We want to see ourselves overcoming, succeeding, being whole, being a champion. So bringing in that unicorn light, I see 3 white unicorns. Maybe you have different unicorns coming to you, and these unicorns are building a pathway, almost a quantum pathway, to a higher version of our reality, maybe the reality we're seeking, maybe the self we're seeking. And they're talking a lot about the best version of us. Some of us deny who we are. We think it's bad to be an artist or a healer or a musician or a banker or whatever you are. You might judge that. But on a soul level, beyond the ego, we can only be ourselves. So we need to have a deep level of self-acceptance, and look where that core belief of lack of self-acceptance came from, because it didn't come from us. It didn't come from God. It didn't come from our higher self. It came from something in the outside world maybe a family member, a judgment in the media, something we read, something that said, oh, it's bad to be this. And then we started to get all, twisted up inside thinking, oh my goodness, it's bad to be me. And I have to conform. And so we want to look at these different aspects as we do ancestral healing today. And also that some of us are very different than our families. And that's okay too, that we are trailblazers leading new lifestyles, new careers, new ways of being. And we need to have the courage to do that confidently and walk forward. I love to talk about this because I feel like I've lacked courage, personal power, backbone a lot in my life. And it's a huge thing I'm working on in this life karmically. And the unicorns want to help us with gentle power, gentle healing, gentle love, higher awareness, just really bringing in their energetic support for the ancestral healing and the inner child healing that we are doing right now. So let's meet those 3 white unicorns, connecting with them on a heart and soul level, maybe petting them and maybe riding them through beautiful places. And as we ride these unicorns forward, we are shedding darkness that we are ready to shed. We are shedding old narratives, old stories, old energy patterns, and we are rising into more heaven on earth. We feel the unicorn merging with our consciousness, bringing in miraculous consciousness, working with our third eye, working with our will, our solar plexus, working in all our chakras to upgrade. They're saying it's time to upgrade and gently upgrade. They say, remember that healing is cyclical. Healing is aligned astrologically with the moon, the cycles of the earth, when our soul is ready, and we are ready for a huge healing boost. And sometimes that comes with a purging. Maybe bad memories are coming up or a lot of emotional pain. That is a gift. When we take time to sit with ourselves, love ourselves through that, we are ready for a quantum leap forward because we're gathering back our energy that was locked up in that trauma. So the 3 unicorns are with us. We can ride the unicorns. They can encircle us. Just notice where they're taking you. They're doing a lot of energy healing on the light body. They're saying you are ready to rise. You're ready to shed pain. But know that in the pain is wisdom and compassion. We need so much wisdom and compassion for humanity and the courage to heal. Kuan Yin's coming through also with that beautiful heart of compassion. And her story is usually about the ability to heal, the courage to heal, and then to lead others through healing. So if you're a healer, you're going through dark nights of the soul or the healer's journey, know that you are so supported. And I want to talk a little bit about this because I'm someone who's continually gone through dark nights of the soul, huge challenges, healing journey in lots of parts of my life. And the best thing always is to understand the cycle and know that it's a learning cycle and that we need to pull in the resources that we need. Sometimes we need to learn everything. There were times even as a teenager where I was sick and home from school for months and months, and I would read every healing book in the house because my parents were into holistic healing. I read every healing book in the house, and now I know that that's something I always need to do. I always have a healing library. I'm always getting new books, taking new classes, learning new things, listening to audiobooks. I'm someone who needs to continually learn, and I will have a crisis of some sort, emotionally, physically, to really call in that new information. And so now I know when I'm in that healer's crisis to ask, what do I need to learn next? And then I've become this huge library of healing, of body work, emotional healing, psychic healing, all kinds of stuff, because I need to learn everything. So the unicorns are also coming in with wisdom, inner child healing, higher perspective. They really want us to break out of the paradigm of impossibility and just really bring in that higher knowing of what cycle are you in? Are you in an outer cycle where you're achieving things in the world? Or are you in an inner cycle where you're not doing a lot, but you need to learn and you need to receive and you need to be in that cocoon? The best thing we could do is honor those cycles and not fight against those cycles. Because I think in our patriarchy-based world, it's always like, go, 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 do, succeed. And sometimes we need to be in the rest phase or the learning phase or that stillness phase. So connecting with the unicorn healing for ancestry, and also notice if any ancestor guides come up. My mother and my aunt are coming through deeply, and they were both healers. And so I think that they're the best ones to help with healing. And I wanted to also talk about the ancestral torches that are passed to us. I found this when my mom died, that a torch of healing was passed to me, that I was to lead the family as a healer, as the matriarch in consciousness. And it makes sense because I feel like my mom always watched over everybody and led them in different ways as an elder. And when she passed away, I felt almost crushed by this pain of the ancestral story of women and the suffering of women. And I saw that like as a diamond or a codex that came into my solar plexus. And so I needed to go to that ancestral temple and keep looking at that codex that was passed down to me. And it was about the suffering of women, the long line of women that suffered in my family back to Europe, and like they were in Ireland and different places. And how do we evolve that divine feminine story and hold space for that graceful evolution versus those other stories of like suffering and perishing and all kinds of negative energy. So the unicorns are really helping, and I really like to work with the unicorns because I feel like they're powerful, but they also contain gentle healing and support. So it's a support that I can really receive and I really trust, and I know I've worked with them before. So if you feel that you have that ancestral torch passed down, I really wanted to talk about that today because I felt it so deeply, but I also felt crushed by it at the time. And I remember going to healers and getting support, but it took almost like 10 years to really understand what that meant, that I was handed this job and that can I rise up to it, but also that I have all this energetic support that of my higher self, of my spirit guides, that I'm not alone. And this is part of growing up. When you're 30, 40, 50 or older, we're growing more and more into our power as leaders. We have life experience now. We've been through so many things and we've survived. So a lot of this is about the passage of time and the gaining of wisdom. And so with that said, we can talk to the wisdom elder unicorns. I really recommend connecting with the unicorns if you're drawn to it, because I feel like they've been such a source of amazing healing, hope, protection for me. So let's bring in some of that unicorn protection today, and ancestral healing, and just calling in whatever you require for ancestral healing. And really looking at what are you facing right now, because most likely if you're facing health issues, money issues, relationship issues, home issues, whatever you're facing is ancestral, because we have the same patterns as our ancestors and we keep getting faced with the same things, and we have to look at how are we evolving this, what is the wisdom gained. And I always tell myself, and I tell everyone, that your problems are not meant to crush you, ruin you. They've come to help you evolve. It's written in the stars that you are to overcome your challenges, right? And that's the hero's journey. And we want to see ourselves succeeding and overcoming our challenges. So sending lots of prayers to you, and I hope you can connect with the beautiful healing unicorns and travel to the unicorn realm to bring in some ancestral healing. And I want to tell you too that ancestral healing is also about facing what happened to our parents in this life, if they had tragic lives or any other family member or tragedy in the past. We're bringing in healing to that. And it's good to educate ourselves about that, because I didn't understand. In my family, I had on my father's side, there was murders, okay? There was a lot of tragedy, and then the people were processing that tragedy, the people that were left. And also a lot of disappointment in marriage and relationships and wealth and career. Like all of these basic life things are affected by the ancestral patterns. Getting paid enough, getting treated right at work, having positive partnerships, positive marriages, friendships, all that stuff's connected to ancestry and those patterns. So we're bringing in lots of blessing and healing with the unicorns for ancestral healing. And I hope that you guys continue your work with ancestral healing. And if you'd like to connect more, you can find me on Facebook. I have a free Facebook group, Angel Fairy Healing with Andrea Dombecki. You can also go to my website, angelfairyhealing.com. I offer private sessions. I also have lots of classes. Currently, I am doing a women's membership. We have Moon Temple and Star Temple. This Saturday, we're having a beautiful ceremony to connect with Grandmother Moon. You can sign up on my website. I also just released the Leprechaun Healer course. I'm super excited about that. I've been having amazing connections with the Leprechaun Elders, and I'm super excited to connect with you. And you can join my newsletter at angelfairyhealing.com. Have a wonderful day, everyone.